XOXO, Goth Girl. Pose. Hi loves, what's up? It's me, Audra. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm not sure how you got here, but certainly I'm glad you came. And if you are new here, well, you're in for a treat. All right, if you enjoy chaotic, frenetic energy, you like beauty, you like horror with a little bit of commentary thrown in between, then I suggest you go on ahead and subscribe for the low price of $0. I will tell you a random fact about myself. Today's random fact is I love candles, but I always keep forgetting to light it. I'm actually, yeah, that is the random fact. I have tons of candles and I forget to light them, and I buy them in like these weird bulk situations. And then I'm like, so let me just light this right quick. And then, we'll also hang out in my socials, which I love hanging out with y'all. I enjoy it. I appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love the patience that y'all have shown while I like unintentionally hid from the internet. And now it doesn't seem like I have to because whoop, whoop. All right. So I'm sure you're asking yourself in this very moment, what are we here with today, Audra? Well, today is going to be a commentary type video. We're gonna talk. We're gonna chat. We're gonna have some conversation. And if you have already seen, who knows how this is gonna go? Because I'm thinking that I may have put up my weird, funny little haul video, which is just, I'm just a wackadoodle. It's fine. Let's just live our lives. And today we're gonna talk about some things whilst I put makeup on my Fossy Foss. I'm so excited because I did get the Collective Cosmetics. I did actually, in fact, get my order. All right. So what we're gonna be doing today is I need to use one of my palettes for my palette challenge, I guess, for me. I'm challenging myself to use all of my palettes. So I think what we'll do is today we're gonna start with the Drench Cosmetics Jupiter Jungle palette. I'm gonna go ahead and use this one for my look. And I will have a video up for the Collective Cosmetics items that I received. I'm gonna be very excited about trying those things because y'all, I'm just gonna go ahead and show it to you right now before we get into all the nitty gritties, because I just wanted to show you like up close and personal how fucking gorgeous this spider imprint is. Like, yes, I'm living for it. I actually have to clean up my whole makeup space because it's a nightmare. So anyway, let's get to chat. My hope is that you have seen the haul video, which has these items in it. So we're gonna be trying today the Catrice True Skin Hydrating Foundation. I mean, why not? It's new, it's a good time, let's have some fun. So today, to go ahead and just get started, I wanted to talk about minimum wage. There's so much conversation running around, and it's kind of weird to me. Like, it's a very weird sensation to just see so many people so angry and upset about minimum wage being $15. We also came in closer. And I think what bothers me as an American, for those of us in America, it's such a weird conversation that we keep continuously having, and every time somebody opposes it, they have the weirdest reasons like why we shouldn't increase minimum wage. You know, they'll be like, oh, so teenagers should earn a livable wage? Yeah. Why wouldn't they? I mean, that's such a weird conversation because these same people will talk about how young people are lazy and they don't want to work. And like, if they would just work hard, then they could afford college. But it's like, okay, but like, if you're not going to pay them a livable wage, how are they supposed to do that? Like, how are you supposed to pay for any amount of college on like $11 an hour? You're not. Oh my gosh, this is really pretty. Y'all, okay, Catrice? Come through. I wasn't expecting that. We're gonna cover up the mustache. And it just seems such a weird thing that we're constantly arguing over. And these people who argue against it, it says something about our country. And this is gonna be all over the place, so don't expect like revelations to happen. It says something about our country, and it's not good, that we would we're so beaten down by the myth of working hard and that like you're supposed to struggle to live, that the idea of not struggling to live like brings out the like anger in people. Like, does that even make sense? Like, we're literally so angry, not we as a whole, but we like, collectively, the people who disagree, like we're so beaten down by it, but we don't even question the idea that like we shouldn't be suffering, like that's not a state of being. Because they'll say things like, well, nothing is easy and life is hard. And I'm like, well, I know. So since life is already hard, just a thought here, but shouldn't we try to do like 3 things to make it less hard? Or am I insane in the membrane at this point? Like, shouldn't we do things to make it less hard? And I feel like life is already so damn difficult and so damn stressful that we shouldn't be adding whether or not you're having to choose between paying for your car and paying rent to that. You know what I mean? Like, why are we adding more stress to it? Like, our lives are already hard. And as Americans, it's really weird to me that we would just rather have it be even more difficult, even more stressful. It's like those people who, when the stimulus was coming around and they were talking about whether or not it was going to be $600 or $2,000, and you had the hustle people out there just like, oh, I don't know, I'd rather get the 600 because that'll make me work harder. Like, shut up. Nobody asked you. Just go sit down. It's like LLC Twitter and hustle Twitter and like investment Twitter. I just want to just knock them out, because realistically, if you think about this, like, we even pay into, like, minimum wage doesn't even make sense, because it should be $25 an hour right now. It should be $25 an hour. Let that sink in. If it's catching up with the rate of inflation and the rate of everything else, it should be $25 an hour right now. And there's no reason that a business shouldn't be paying that. Like, none. They'll try to come up with some bullshit excuse like, well, I can't run my business if minimum wage is this. Here's what I have to say to those people who have that like weird mentality that they can't run their business if they have to pay people an actual livable wage. Like, sir, madam, I need you to understand that if your business model hinges on you taking advantage of people and paying them a wage that is not livable, then you don't deserve a business. And it kills me because these are also the same people, this people arguing against a minimum wage are also the same people who will scream that all the jobs are being sent to China. And it's like, bruh, do you not understand what they're doing? Like, they're like totally tricking you. And the jobs that that do go to China, it's because they don't want to pay us. Do you understand? Like, they quite literally, they don't want to pay us. And they're working every angle and aspect to just like not pay us. And you don't see that as a problem? Like,
I don't know who all lies to you!
They know that they can't get away with paying Americans that kind of money, like that little money. They know they can't get away with it. So they just send it overseas where they can exploit everyone. Like, there is a reason that there are so many American companies that moved to China, that moved to Vietnam. Like, why do you think so many things are manufactured in these countries? It's not just because they're fantastic, better workers. It's because they can exploit them. They can't exploit the American worker this way because we have laws and rules against it. And some of these countries don't quite have it yet because of how their economy works and how everything works in their country. So we're literally sitting here saying, on one hand, these people will say this. On one hand, they will sit there and argue you up and down about why you shouldn't get this much money and how you just need to work hard. And then on the other side of it, they're also like, well, they're always sending all our jobs to China. And I'm like, okay. Because I always feel like in that moment, it's like, should I no, okay. Let's not tell them. I'm like, they're already so confused. Like, let's just let them live their best life of confusion.
Was that directed at me?
So for people who don't know this, or you know what, here's an easy way to explain it. When we talk about things like, and I know this is about to not make sense, and so I need to move myself backwards a second. Sorry, ADHD at its finest. So one of the arguments is often like, well, then a fucking Big Mac is going to be $75. No, it's not. Okay. So everything has cost built into it. If you've taken one rudimentary accounting course, which unfortunately I have, and I hated every second of it, you will very quickly come to realize some important things. And one of them is that the cost of a good has many costs built into it, including inflation. And so everything has like okay, if we sell it for this much, this is the profit. And everything that we have, especially in the US, is definitely designed to maximize profit. Like that is the point, to maximize profit. There's no other point, there's no other reason. They just want to maximize the profit to the highest level possible. And so all of those prices are set with them maximizing their profit. Very few prices are set with them not maximizing their profit. So just keep that in mind. So an easy way to kind of see this is like, if you've ever sold anything before on Poshmark, you know what your maximum payout will be. If you sell at this price point, this is your maximum payout. You also know your minimum payout. You're very much aware that if you sell it for this, the minimum amount that you will get, the very least that you can get is going to be like, $4 from, or like $1.75 as profit, right? So knowing that, you're like, well, I don't want $1.75, and most of us are like that. You're like, I don't want $1.75. I want, $17 from this item. Cool. So you're going to price your item, but you have wiggle room. And because you have that wiggle room on what you will accept and what you won't accept, when people start negotiating with you, okay, well, I'm not going lower than this because this, right? I'm not going lower. I'm not going to sell this for less than $35 because if I sell it less than $35, then I'm not going to get this profit. Or if I sell it less than $22, that's a risk I'm not willing to take because I have to ship it and do all these things, and that's not enough for me to feel like it's worth my time and or energy to do so, right? And so since that's your mindset, which perfectly acceptable and fine, you know that. And it's the same thing. Fast food, like everything has those costs built into it. Everything does. So this is why they can put things for sale, like, because that's built in. They know how, like the lowest amount that they can sell X product for and still turn any kind of profit. That's what they're going to do. Even in a going out of business sale, they still don't drop to the lowest actual price that they can do. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, because you look at it and they're going out of business and you think to yourself, well, why wouldn't they just sell it? Because they can't. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. The point I'm getting at is the idea that minimum wage is going to ruin small businesses is created by rich people, because it's not McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't give a shit about paying over minimum wage. They're just not doing it because they don't have to. They don't care if minimum wage changes. They don't give a shit. They're not paying people that kind of money because they don't have to. They just don't have to, so they don't give a fuck about actually doing it. But they don't care because it doesn't affect them, because they have a good that is essentially, for the most part, damn near recession proof, all right? People are still going to eat there. People still have to have fast lunches and things like that. McDonald's and the like provide that, right? So they're still going to have business. They're still going to be fine. And they're still going to have people who come to eat at McDonald's, period. They know that. They're aware. So who actually benefits, right? Who actually benefits from not paying a minimum wage? And it's corporations, big corporate, you go to your corporate job corporations. They benefit, because if they had to actually pay you what you were worth, my gosh, my goodness gracious, they wouldn't survive. Having to pay somebody what they're actually worth. Because here's the thing, this is why they don't want it to rise. Because if a lot of us, if we knew, okay, you know what, I can make $25 an hour working at McDonald's. Fuck having my boss call me on Saturday and bothering me and all this shit. I'm just gonna go work here, and that's gonna be, it's gonna be a lot of work, but shit, I have a better schedule. I have a better ability. If I want to travel, I can. Vacation days, I don't necessarily have to stress over currently. And if it doesn't work out here, like, fine, I'll just go work somewhere else, right? It's not like it's not saying, oh, you can't, and I'm not saying it's easy. What I'm saying is, because you work in a commodified industry like that, it's easier for you to just be like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna work at this McDonald's, I'll go work at that McDonald's. I don't like the boss here, I'm gonna go work at this one. You have more movability, and it helps you with, like, wherever it is that you wanna live. You're like, okay, well, I have 17 McDonald's in this space, so it's easy for me to make some decisions on where I want to work and who I want to put up with, and I don't have to put up with this boss. And you can either transfer or quit and go start at the other one, whatever you want to do. But corporate America doesn't want to pay you. And if you ever really thought about it, like, think about things like unemployment, right? Remember how freaked out and how many people were screaming about people getting the additional money for unemployment, and we're like, these people are making more money. Which I've talked about that before, but they're like, these people are making more money than they were making at their jobs. And ain't that a shame? That says something about our country. But here's the thing. They will tell you that the reason that they can't pay you a good unemployment rate is because they're afraid that people will be lazy and not go back to work, which laziness is a construct. But anyway, and not go to work. But that's just not the case. Like, what they're really doing is forcing people to take employment that is, I'm not going to say beneath them, but isn't comparable to the employment that they had previously. So case in point, I've talked about this multiple times, but I always bring this up as just like an example of how fucked this country is when you have people who have engineering degrees working on the packing line at Amazon because it's hard for them to find a job. That says a lot. And it doesn't say anything good, because they took that job, and a lot of people do, because unemployment doesn't pay enough for you to fucking survive, right? You can't survive on that. So what ends up happening is you go, okay, well, I have to get a job, and I need to be working. And so you go work at these jobs that don't have anything to do with your degree, and you're essentially forced into going to work. You're forced into going to work for a job that you are overqualified for, because they don't want to pay you. Because realistically, you should, in fact, be able to be on unemployment until you find a job comparable in pay and benefits to the job that you had previously. There's no reason for you to be forced to step down. That doesn't make any sense to me. Every time I see that, it drives me absolutely wild. I cannot get behind this idea that I'm supposed to just not just me, but people in general. I can't get behind this idea that people are just supposed to take whatever's available to them, because if we keep at it, like, it ruins people's ability to have, any kind of feeling of going somewhere. And back to minimum wage, this also stems from this idea, the caste system that's been put into place, and these people have consistently bought into and listened, the feeling of being able to feel bigger or better than someone because of what it is that you do for employment. Because in America, for some weird ass reason, our identities are inexplicably tied to us as a person, which totally doesn't make sense. And I say this because there are several other countries where people do not, upon greeting each other, say things like, what do you do? And the other thing is how people answer. Like, if you learn another language, a lot of other languages do not have your job as an I am statement. They have them as an I do statement. And in America, we have it as an I am statement. And this is why you see people who are so afraid to say that they work in fast food, that they work in retail. Bartender is always going to be one of those jobs that's super classy, because everybody saw Cocktail at one point or another, or any show that had like sexy bartenders doing cool bartender tricks. So that's fine. But it is very frightening for you to say that, because you know that they're premium jobs essentially. And if you don't fit into that, then you can't have an I am statement. So this is why people hedge when you're like, oh, what do you do? And people will say things like, oh, you know, I'm in the service industry, right? They won't say, I work at McDonald's or I work at Belk. They'll just say like, oh, I'm in this, not because they're ashamed, but because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived, right? But they have a job and they're doing a great job, and people really need to stop being assholes about that. Soapbox off of. So because we do this, the idea in our minds that somebody working at McDonald's must intrinsically be lazy if they are an adult doesn't make sense, because we're also forgetting one very important thing, and that's motivation. Every single person is not fucking motivated by making a ton of money. Let that sink in. Every single person is not sitting there motivated by making a shit ton of money. It's just not true. Like, every single person is just not motivated by that. And these folks will try to have you believe that, yeah, everybody's motivated by money. Everybody's motivated by money. Yeah, people are motivated to have enough money to live. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Like, that doesn't help the conversation for me to pretend like people aren't motivated to live. But money isn't everybody's motivation. Like, some people, their motivation is being able to travel. So just being able to make enough money and have a job where they can travel as often as they want is important to them. They're like, yeah, I'll do this because I work this job. Like, for instance, people who work Uber, which is not a hustle, by the way. That is now a lot of people's main source of income. Sorry, I have a hair right here. And I've known people who do that, and they're like, no, I do this full time because I make my own schedule. I don't have to work in an office, which I detest, you know? So they're like, yeah, I don't have to work in an office, and I detested that shit. And I'm my own boss. I make money when I want to make money. And also I get to travel when I want to travel. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Do you, you know? And so that person doesn't work there because they're lazy. They work there because like their goal in life is just to be able to like pick up and travel when they want to. And so what helps them be able to do that is being able to have a job like McDonald's available to them so they can be mobile and not be stuck in this job. And since they're not stuck in it and they can work there, they go, oh yeah, what I do is, you know, I live at this place, or I usually get roommates or whatever. I live with them. Or some people even, I live with my parents and I work for 6 months. I help them pay bills here and there, but I work for six to 8 months out of the year. And then I travel for the rest. I just save all that money and I just travel for the rest of it. And like, that's great. So raising the minimum wage is something that needs to be done and has needed to be done. And the fact that we're arguing over $15 an hour, like, and the way that these people do not understand that you shouldn't be upset about the fact that like, oh my gosh, then some teenager is going to make as much as a teacher. And it's like, no, what we really need to be asking is how come the teacher doesn't make more money? Like, we shouldn't be arguing over teenagers. And also we really need to stop this conversation about teenagers, like as if a lot of teenagers can even have jobs these days with the amount of stressors that are put on them to get into college. Like, give me a fucking break. Do you even know? Like, I remember when I was in school, it's like do you expect teenagers to go to school, get straight A's so that you can get like a scholarship? Also, don't forget to be doing extracurricular activities. And so you got to do your extracurricular activities. Also, don't forget to be volunteering at some bullshit while also simultaneously taking your SAT prep courses. Like this, I get mad every time I talk about it because it genuinely makes me angry, because we have this like built-in idea that all these things that teenagers are supposed to be doing to make their lives better, and none of what we're doing even helps them anyway. And if your firm belief is that only teenagers should work at fast food, then you know what? We need to close all fast food restaurants until for teen hours. We can only go between the hours of 5 and 9, 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. And that is a false idea, because for a very, very long time, and I mean a long time, I'm not making this shit up, adults worked those jobs. They weren't even worked by teenagers for a very long time. For Black people, for just immigrants, for women who entered the workforce, it was really not uncommon. Like it was never uncommon. But the more corporate America went, the more that we started like falling back into that caste system bullshit and using our employment as some kind of trump card. Ooh, sorry. Ugh. Sorry, it's gonna be a while before I stop having that reaction whenever I say that word. Like using your employment as some kind of form of like, oh, well, I'm an investment broker. Like, congratulations. Do you want a cookie? Oh wait, I'm sure you can buy all the cookies. Like the very idea that we need to be subservient to our corporate overlords is just, ugh. And the way that these people will constantly stump and like cap for billionaires is astounding to me. Like it actually like kind of breaks my heart because I'm like, you do know that these people don't care about you. Like these billionaires don't care.
Tell him to send over the gray fox. See? Sacrifice.
Please hold while I apply eyeliner. I'll move in a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing, I guess. It's not a tutorial. Whew, that was stressful because I knew you were watching, so I got nervous. Don't look at me. Anyway, I know things got strange and I apologize, but also, no, I don't. And so essentially we're just like behaving in this really strange way. Like these people, I say we, but you know what I mean. But these people are behaving in this really strange way, thinking that like, oh, because capitalism really has people believing that one day they will make it, that one day, you know, they'll be rich. And this is why, I'm gonna say it, this is why rich people do things like celebrities who actually like do good things. This is why there are celebrities who do some good things on the DL, because you can't get out that you as a rich person are doing anything for those below you. The idea, I tweeted this out and I can't remember, I always juxtapose the two numbers and I'll fix it in here if I'm incorrect. But the idea that it would take you 2,740 years to spend $1 billion, $1 billion spending $1,000 a day just should boggle your mind, because you realize that like this kind of money, like their kids can't spend it. Their kids can't spend it. Their kids can't spend it. That's how much money we're talking about. When you realize that amount of money is such that these people, that literally 2 or 3 people in the entire world could like literally solve hunger, could solve debt, could just like absolve all of those things, and they don't do it. That's all I got to say about that is and I know it's a lot of blush, but like there's a whole thing happening here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. Worry about your blush. Don't worry about your blush. Like, are you putting on your makeup with me? That'd be cool if you were. Put it on. Let's put on makeup and chat. And so, you know, we really, like as a country, have got to get past, one, having your job be such an identity that it's like, it becomes who the fuck you are, because you're not. I know you're worried. Don't worry. It becomes who the fuck you are, because that's not who you are. Like your job it is not your identity. What you do is not your identity. Stop letting that bullshit tie you up to where you feel ashamed of whatever you do. Stop letting that bullshit tie you up to where you don't feel as good as the person next to you because they're a fucking lawyer and you work at Chili's. There's nothing wrong with it, because guess what? That lawyer goes to Chili's. And also, they have to pull their pants down to use the toilet just like anybody else. See, I cleaned that up because I was really just gonna say to shit, but now I've said it. Too late. The way that we're trying to use things like minimum wage to make people feel like they're lazy and they're not doing well, like, no. Why are we involved in a like culture of suffering? Please explain why we are living in a culture in a time of like, people need to suffer. And you're like, for what? Why? why the hell do people need to suffer? Why are we like I said, life is already hard enough. I know, I'm going in. Like, listen, I have a whole idea about being like a dark fucking queen, so we're going in with some really intense bronzer today. Blah, blah, blah. But like that actually just, it hurts my heart and it boggles my mind. This culture of soul suffering just needs to end. Like this idea that in order to become something, you have to suffer so much for it. It needs to die. The trend of like, you need to have a whole awful story. And here's the thing, you can see it in our television. You can see it in every reality show we have. If you think suffering is not ingrained in our culture, I don't know what to tell you, but it definitely is. It definitely is, because what happens on every single one of these shows? What happens? We have to hear like the story. And I strongly feel that the reason that some people don't win is because their quote unquote sob story isn't sobby enough. There's just not enough tragedy there. You need to have somebody who had some really intense tragedy in order for this to be an interesting contestant, because otherwise, boo bitch, they didn't suffer, get the fuck out. Like, if you didn't have any kind of suffering, we don't want you on this show. Somebody in your family has to have passed away. Did you not live in a van down by the river? Like, that's literally, you think I'm like making jokes. I'm not making jokes about people's lives. What I'm making a mockery of is the idea that in order to do anything in this country, you have to have a success story, and your success story has to somehow deal with you having lived the most god-awful experience known to man. And that shouldn't be applauded. We need to stop that. Not because it's good that people come out of horrible circumstances and make something of themselves, but the idea that they had to do that. They shouldn't have to. Parents should not be trying to choose right now between whether or not their kids eat and whether or not they get gas that they can take them to school and work. This shouldn't be an option. And the idea of laziness, bullshit. They literally set this up, and you see this in us when I was talking about school and all the things that you have to do just to go to college. They're literally setting us up in a situation where we get used to the idea that every waking moment of our lives must be spent doing something, otherwise we're lazy. And why do they set you up for that? So that when you go work in corporate America, they can also take over every aspect of your life. And then that's when you learn that like there's not really living, there's just working and sleeping. Like that's all you got. That's not a way to live. We need to give people a wage that they can actually live off of, no matter what job it is. It shouldn't matter what you do as to whether or not you deserve to live. Everyone deserves to live. Sorry. I shall return. I'm gonna go do my eyebrows. Now that I've calmed down, everyone deserves to live. And it doesn't matter if you're working or not working. If you're disabled, you should have money, a livable amount of money, period, point blank. And will there be people that abuse the system if you make sure that someone's unemployment is the amount that they were getting paid before they became unemployed? If you make sure that every person who's disabled gets paid a livable wage so that they can be home, see their doctors, do all the things that they need to do, and still maintain a good quality of life? Yes, there will be some people that abuse that system. But let me tell you something. You don't not open a business because there might be a few people who shoplift. Like, get away from me with that bullshit ass argument, because every time somebody says that to me, I want to punch them in the mouth. Like, well, there'll be people who'll take advantage. I'm like, okay, then why did you even open up a business? Why open up a business? People might steal. You shouldn't do that. You'll lose money. That seems like a dumb idea. Hate those people. It is literally the way that this country has built itself on the backs of people, willfully and non-willfully, from slavery to indentured servitude, and just doesn't want to stop doing it. Just doesn't want to. Just wants to keep convincing people that like, oh, well, if we do this, then this will happen. If we do this, then this will happen. If a Big Mac will be so expensive. Okay, well, also, so people will actually be able to afford it because they're getting paid the correct amount of money. So it doesn't even fucking matter now, does it? Does it? No, it doesn't. See? Fun facts. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so heated in this video, but like every time I talk about this kind of shit, it actually like makes me like violently angry because every single time you have this argument with people and they have like bullshit to say to you, like, well, but like, if we do this, what about the people who take advantage of it? I'm like, that's such a stupid argument. Like every time somebody says that, I'm like, you're stupid and I don't like you. Because that like, then we shouldn't have school then, because the idea that some people might cheat means like, then it's not fair. So don't have school, you know? Like, that's why you're stupid. That is why you're stupid when you say shit like that. Oh, well, people might take advantage of the system. Okay, and we find them. We use resources and find those people and pay attention to them and make sure that they can't continue to do that. Like, it's not hard. Like, it's the unchecked, out of this world, unabashed meanness, mean-spiritedness that just gets me down. The idea that somebody could be doing well and that somehow is going to take away from you and what you've learned. Like, no, it doesn't take away from you. Yes, there are skilled jobs, and yes, they do deserve to get paid. I'm not saying that they don't. What I am saying, though, is that somebody who works at Burger King shouldn't be struggling to the point that they have to try to like work at Burger King and Taco Bell while trying to go to school, while trying to make anything happen in their life. You can't make anything happen that way. It's impossible. Like, it becomes an impossibility. You're just climbing up this hill and you're getting nowhere. And it's no wonder that their younger people, the younger generations, are like, yeah, fuck college, because who wants to start their life in debt when you can't even live? Like, you can't even live. The fact that there are still jobs right now that I worked, like, places of employment, not the actual, but like the job title, for instance, leasing agent. The fact that that was paying $10 an hour in 2004 and still pays $10 an hour doesn't make any sense to me. Why wouldn't that go up? Why? Like, it doesn't, like, no. The fact that the starting pay rate, this is after you finish college, is still $36,000, and like that's on the high end for 4 years of a college education? Are you serious? You mean to tell people that they spent upwards of $120,000 to make $36,000 a year, which you can't even live off of? By the way, you can't live off of $36,000. Like, that shit is a struggle. Trying to live off of $36,000, and I live in Texas, y'all. Not like Texas is super inexpensive, but like I'm in the South. Like, it is so difficult to live off of that because the cost of living is high here. And I don't mean like high in the sense of like, you know, from New York, but it's high. Like, it's not cheap to live here. An apartment where you're not afraid to get like shot at is gonna be at least $1,200, at least. In some of these areas, you're like, okay, so you're looking at paying a rent at anywhere between, like, you're very least $1,000. I'm gonna say that, very least $1,000. So when you're looking at $36,000, let me tell you, I would not have survived living on my own, and that wasn't by choice. When I had to move into an apartment because previously I had roommates, that wasn't by choice. It was because like the person that I was living in the house with, he wanted his house back. You know, he was like, yeah, it was like me and another roommate. And he was just like, yeah, I want my house back. Like, he gave us time to find a place and all that kind of shit. Good guy. But like, if my mom hadn't been helping me during that time when I was making like so little money, I would never, like, I would have had to live in the ghetto. And on top of that, the idea, again, that like, who cares? Who cares if somebody is lazy? What if they are? What if they are lazy? What if their idea of a good life isn't slaving away at a desk? Huh? What if that's not their idea of a good time? Maybe they just don't want to do that. And they're like, yeah, that's not what I want to do with my life. So I don't want to go to college because I don't want to do any of those things. Maybe I'll take up a trade. Maybe I'll do this. But like, I don't want to do that. I kind of just want to like live. I want to live life. Life is not about working and dying. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And if anybody has like, if that's what you want to be, you just believe that, okay? But I don't believe it, and I refuse to believe it, and I'm not going to live like that. You know, because if what you are trying to tell me is that like that's gonna be my life, then I just don't even want to be here. I didn't even ask. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to be here. So why would I want to be here if like my entire life is gonna be a miserable hellscape of working at shit jobs that don't pay me a lot of money? And then your answer, this is the answer. The answer is like, well, if you want a better life, you go to school. And I'm like, oh, so put myself in debt. Okay, so your options suck. Like your options suck. So why wouldn't we just say, let's make a livable wage for everyone. Let's make sure that every human can, you know, live a good life. And that it's not just contingent upon you being just like a really good employee. It's not contingent upon you being a good little capitalist, because this is a capitalistic system and it's hard to get out of. And, you know, the only way to break capitalism is with, honestly, a violent takeover. And I didn't say that. I'm saying the only way to destroy capitalism is through force. And so most of us aren't willing to have that kind of force. We'd rather try to get capitalism to work better. And of course it doesn't want to. And it's been on this train for a while of like not wanting to do better. And we just have to keep dealing with the fact that there's so many people who don't understand how like this kind of shit is good. Like the very people that y'all get mad at being like, like y'all come in like the angry Karens who like yell at young people about, like you're yelling at people about a fucking fast food hamburger. I need you to understand that. And then you think that those people that you scream at shouldn't get paid a livable wage. You're getting right, they do. Excuse me, I said it again. I'm gonna have to edit that out. But you're right, they do. They do deserve it. They put up with so much shit from so many people. Like they deserve every last dime, okay? And on top of that, currently they're not even getting hazard pay right now. Are you serious? Like not even hazard pay. Not even hazard pay. We're literally like telling these people that they're essential to keeping everything running and moving. And then when they're like, hey, can we have some hazard pay? They're like, no. We need a minimum wage to be raised, and it's not even being raised enough, and we need to keep pushing until we do. You are not your job. Your job is something you do. You are a human being. You should not be ashamed of anything that you're doing. Laziness is a fucking construct. It's created to make you feel like if you're not on that hustle every 5 fucking seconds that you're somehow not a good enough person. You're a good enough person. Not everybody wants to hustle. Some of us just want to live. Some of us just, like, I want to work, I want to make enough money so they can take care of my dog and I have a roof over my head and I can continue to do YouTube. That's what I want out of life. I don't particularly care about going up some stupid corporate ladder because I didn't want to be there in the first place. Y'all made that, and then you told me that that's supposed to be my goal, and I bought into that shit for a long time. I'm not doing it again. All right, I got on a rant. I hope I made sense. Yes. $25 an hour. All right. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you enjoyed the rant, I guess. I didn't mean to get as ranty. I had planned to not be that ranty. Yeah, so give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as usual, huge shout out to my patrons and spooky bays. Yeah. All right, you know the drill. Costs $0 to be kind. It's so good for your soul because if you don't take care of it, I'm sure as hell coming for yours. Until next time, XOXO, got the girl. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. So I'm just gonna jump right in and I want to, oh Jesus, I didn't know that that's how it worked. Okay. Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of me. I'm proud of me. I didn't know. This happens to me literally every single time. I did it. Pull top? It was a pull top, and I twisted it, and I got foundation everywhere. We're gonna keep moving forward. Did y'all hear that? Bo is sleeping good. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. At least I am. I'm gonna pretend it didn't happen. I'm a winner. Don't bring it up again. Thanks. Ooh. Oh, damn. Like, look at me looking like a whole ass goddess.